Hey everyone, this is Georgia from Tippy.com and welcome to our weekly show focused on everything iPhone and iPad. From news and how-tos to app and accessory reviews, this is iPhone and iPad Live. It's Wednesday, December 28th, and joining me tonight is the co-host of Iterate and the CIO of Nickelfish, Seth Clifford.
Hey Georgia, how are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here. It's almost the new year, Seth.
Yeah, I know. We haven't done a show in a couple days. It's exciting.
I know. I miss it.
Yeah.
And,
should be good.
Well, of course. And the editor-in-chief of Tippy.com and my co-host on Zen and Tech is Rene Ritchie.
I don't miss it. I had a wonderful break from you people. It was just so relaxing. No, I missed it terribly. There was all this iOS, all iPhone and iPad stuff going on, and I just had the urge to talk about it, and no way to do it, so I'm glad to be back.
Well, I've been getting just like accessories a la masse, so I'm so excited. I'm going to show off some of the stuff that has just come in that we'll be reviewing really soon, and I'm pretty stoked about it. So,
yeah, you're going to amp up the accessory content on Tippy this year, aren't you?
Yeah, we're going to take a look at some of the coolest and newest stuff that you can get for your iPhone or iPad.
Awesome.
And some of the stuff I'm actually really so stoked to get ready. Like I'm looking at it, just wishing that I could, get a screwdriver and put it together now.
Ooh, is it robots? Is it robots?
It's close.
Oh, okay, cool. I can't wait.
It's robot-like.
If you can build a T100 during the show, you're going to get an award of some kind.
Damn, that would be awesome. Does it have to be to scale?
No, it does not have to be a scale. Miniature Terminators can kill us just as dead.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to look that up. ThinkGeek might have one right now.
Oh, probably.
Yeah, they probably do.
Yeah.
Probably moves. You can probably control it with your iPhone.
The ammo's an in-app purchase. Stupid thinking.
Probably kills you in your sleep real well.
As long as it's not a clown, I'm okay with that.
I'll be back.
Clowns are scarier. Well, do we have any shows that you've been doing today out of the 100?
No, we talked about them before. We haven't done anything since then. I basically have not podcasted. It's really weird. I have not done a podcast since Zen and Tech last Wednesday. It feels very odd.
Oh, that's very
creepy.
That's almost unnatural.
Yeah. But, I needed it. I refilled the batteries. We're back. We're ready to do business.
Okay, well, let's go through some iPhone rumors because this one cracks me up.
Do it.
So here we go, Seth. Seth, the rumor is that there will be a completely redesigned iPhone coming out next year.
Wait, back up. You mean to tell me that people are suggesting that a year after an iPhone came out, there will be a new iPhone that's a little different?
Can you believe that? It will actually look differently. And since, this year's iPhone looked the same, that the next one will be different.
All right, let me jump in for a second because I am the first one to snark at this kind of stuff because mostly analysts state the complete obvious. There will be a new iPhone next year. Well, yes, because Apple's in the business of making iPhones. They've made one a year for, going on 5 years now. And, well, this will be the 5th year. And, that's not the funny part. The funny part is this is from Boy Genius, and Boy Genius has really good sources, but at the same time, he puts out these rumors that are so gobsmackingly wrong, like that the iPhone everyone else is getting the iPhone 4S in 2011, but Sprint is exclusively getting the iPhone 5. That they got a lot of pushback on this. A lot of people just called BS immediately to this rumor, and that's
on the rumor that there's going to be a
completely redesigned iPhone with a plastically rubber bezel around an aluminum back. And it could be true. It's interesting to me that it was sort of like a revolt of and people on Twitter were mad too. It was like a revolt of the rumor people. They were just this rumor they were not going to take from BGR.
Well, there's a lot of wild rumors out there, and as for what the design might be, we already know that you probably should not be designing cases right now dependent on this rumor.
Well, Apple, is that fair to say, Seth? Apple so far have done, they did the original iPhone fine, but then the 3G and the 3GS had the same casing, and now the 4 and the 4S have had the same casing. So if there is any way to predict Apple's future behavior based on past behavior, we could be in for a redesign this year.
Yeah, I think it's probably a safe bet. I mean, of course, they could release a similar looking phone again, but I think there'd probably be some kind of senseless backlash and people would be upset. But I think it's probably a safe bet that the body type will be a little bit different, just because they have kind of followed that pattern. And I think that, especially, I mean, I know Apple kind of moves to the beat of its own drummer, so to speak, but I think that even they're aware that 2 years with the same kind of look and feel in this market specifically is probably enough. You know, like the MacBook Pro hasn't changed fundamentally in a long time, but the laptop market is very different than the mobile phone market. So I think
Exactly.
that's something that they understand implicitly, and I would expect to see a new body type.
There's this train of thought that Apple was going to release the iPhone 5 last year, and something, either they couldn't manufacture it, there was some problem. But we heard early on that it was going to be an iPhone 4S. I mean, one of the earliest things we heard was, don't get your hopes up for a redesign. And it kind of made sense, and we kept hearing it, and we were pretty much told flat out we were not getting a new iPhone design in 2011. So we weren't really expecting that, but it surprises me how many people still consider the lack of a redesign a humongous fail. I mean, Ashley Esqueda did her Failsy Awards on the Monday Brief this week, and that was her big iOS Failsy of the year. A lot of people really think that Apple dropped the ball on this, but I think it's kind of part of their pattern. They do the internal update, then the external update, then the internal update, then the external update.
Well, it is part of their pattern, and another part of their pattern is really, really fantastic control over manufacturing and the scalability of their designs. And so they hit a certain a stride with a design, and then to completely reproduce that design for another year with different internals actually saves them money in the long run. So what they're doing is, settling on something that they think is good, and they're probably, knowing what we know about how far out in advance their development cycles are, they probably have the next 2 years worth of designs ready to go. And that seems to be how they're planning. They hit those economies of scale, and then they have those parts, for a lot of phones, and they're cheaper as they go on.
Georgia spoke
And the
about that
fact that
before.
they can, yeah, and the fact that they can mass produce then and they don't have to worry about them, yeah, definitely saves them a lot of money. Do you think that, Seth, that them being ahead of the pack is another reason that they can afford, or one of the leaders of the pack, I don't want to have a whole bunch of people completely angry at me, but being one of the leaders of the pack also affords them the ability to wait an extra year before redesigning the outer case of the phone?
I
Because people
think
care about the outside, the way that the phone looks outside. It's an accessory as well. It is something that's usable.
Yeah, it totally is, and it's very much become that. I mean, smartphones have gone from things we carried around shamefully in our pockets and brought out, in
Is that a
sheltered
trio
corners.
antenna in your pocket, Seth? You're just happy
Yeah,
to see us.
exactly. I mean, if you've had a smartphone for any more than the past 4 years, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It was a pain point for a long time, and now they're like, very sleek, really exciting looking devices, and so they definitely are connected to fashion and things like that. I think Apple's designs are not so much ahead of the curve or ahead of the pack. I think they're just solidly built structurally, and I think that their designs are simple enough that they can tread a much more elegant line that will hold up over time, as opposed to trying to always look new, with everything else that's also looking new.
So the one thing that's interesting to me, and I'm going to go back to Georgia's point for a minute, is that Apple sold the iPhone 3G up until the iPhone 4S was launched. Well, no, it was about a year ago, and they're still selling the iPhone 3GS. And that casing design goes back to 2008. And even if they introduce a newly designed iPhone 5, they will be keeping the iPhone 4S around as a budget model, and maybe the 4 as the budget model. So they get a huge lifespan out of these devices, way more than a lot of other manufacturers get. And that's a tremendous savings. But also, I'd still argue that the iPhone 4S is one of the best manufactured phones on the market. There's a lot of other great technical specifications. I mean, the Galaxy Nexus, fantastic specs. Some of the new Blackberries. I mean, we had dinner with Kevin Michalak last night, and he was showing off his white Blackberry Bold. I don't know if it was what number it was. I lose track of those 4-digit codes they assigned to everyone.
99 something. It's
90,
almost 10,000.
99.
99
Is it 80,
something
99, 80?
And it is a gorgeous phone. But the iPhone 4S, glass and metal, no one else is manufacturing phones like that. And because Apple only makes one, they can put everything behind it. They don't have to worry about making 4 variations for 4 different carriers or small yield numbers because they're being sold directly or only on one carrier. So I think that Apple does have that advantage, George.
Right. Well, I have another question for you. Rene, why is it that the National Transportation and Safety Board, when I head to the US, wants me to be lost all the time?
No, they don't. It's well, yeah, they do, but the Department of Transportation said them fie. They said no.
Yeah, God bless, because I would be lost all the time if I did not have my phone, so that I could, follow around. And what they wanted to do is they wanted to ban the use of iPhones and other smartphones in cars. Now,
absolutely banned, like totally banned, like not
like
allowed, bad.
Yeah, you can't have your phone on in your car, and this I use for map settings. Now, they didn't want to ban the use of, say, GPS locators and anything else. So as long as your hands are, like, no matter what, I would at least be able to find my way around. So why would they banning the phone in comparison to anything else?
Because they're a reactionary bureaucracy who doesn't really think through the ramifications of what they suggest before they suggest them. I mean, I don't think that's a shock to everyone. And technology moves so fast. Like, there's probably, I don't like these fancy dancy smartphones. People are distracted. They're doing the texting. I mean, it's fine to put on your makeup and read the newspaper while you're driving, but I don't cotton to this texting thing. And I'm glad that the Department of Transportation stood up to them, because the black and white is, we did a poll, by the way, I should mention that. We did a poll across mobile nations, all the different sites. Phil Nickinson set it up, and we cribbed mercilessly or shamelessly off of his poll. And I'm just waiting for the results to come up. Oh, why is Safari so slow? So the results that we got just across, like, CrackBerry, Tippy, Android Central, was 20% of people said they agreed with the NTSB. It saves lives. Ban it now. 36% said no, it doesn't make a difference. Distracted people are distracted. You stuff a hamburger in their mouth, they'll cause just as many accidents. And 42% says there should be some middle ground where, maybe texting is banned, whether it's on a smartphone or a dumb phone, and things like using turn-by-turn or sat-nav is okay, or maybe using a speakerphone is fine, or listening to Pandora is just hunky-dory. And I am deeply gratified that at least one arm of the government is watching the silly gestures the other one is making.
Yeah.
Well, I would be... Yeah, go ahead, Seth.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say something dumb.
I was just going to say about, like, if you're texting while you're driving, that is exceptionally dangerous, and I think that should be banned. And but, using turn by turn, especially if it's something like Navigon and it's going to speak to you, you don't actually have to look at it, is really helpful in comparison to me being lost and then making a UE somewhere where I shouldn't happen to be making it.
Unfolding your map on the steering wheel.
Right, and it depends where your phone is being held.
Trying to force a man to ask directions.
If it already has its own holder on your phone, that's definitely not as dangerous as carrying your phone around, say, in your lap and having to look at it now and then. So, I guess it depends on what you use for it. I think that texting while you're driving is really stupid, especially if you're playing Angry Birds or if you're doing something else on your phone. That would be something.
If Apple would just give me 3G FaceTime, I could have video calls while I'm driving. It seems totally safe to me. Seth, you had wisdom to impart?
No, I was just going to say, these kinds of blanket rules that try to get applied to things like this, they're not going to save lives. Good sense and decision making saves lives. Telling people phones are not allowed in cars is not going to save lives. Like, you can instantly look at it and say, oh, what if I'm stranded, out in the middle of nowhere and my car breaks down? What if I get into an accident? What if someone's, chasing me and I need to call there's so many reasons you should have a phone available to you in a car. You just shouldn't be texting. Like, it's not that hard to understand that relationship. You shouldn't be texting. You should be driving your giant box of steel death machine instead of texting.
I would like to know that if a cop sees you doing anything stupid, be it putting on makeup or eating recklessly or just doing anything that looks like a distraction, they will pull you over and use existing negligent driving laws to give you a ticket and or haul your ass in should your ass deserve being hauled in. I always find it odd that they try to make special laws for things, and I don't know if it was everywhere, but the laws for radar detectors, at least in our jurisdiction, was absurd because they couldn't say they couldn't outlaw radar detectors, so you weren't allowed to buy them or sell them or offer them for sale. It was like every law in the books except for you can't use a radar detector. And I think too often they overcomplicate and kind of mismanage things that should be simple.
It's just a law that is unenforceable in the end as well. It's the same rule that I used for if you're going to give a rule to a child. It has to be an enforceable law. If you can't enforce the law, then you're going to waste a lot of time with a law that's going to be useful because it's not going to be useless because it's not going to be upheld.
Don't
so
drive
there's no
while
way
stupid.
to
How's that?
actually, like, you're not allowed to what? Bring your phone into the car? How are you going to know what the person was actually using their phone for when it's there? So your phone's not going to be allowed to be on in your car, or it's not going to be allowed to do what? Like, they're not going to be able to enforce not bringing it into the car in the first place. So it just seems like one of those laws that what a waste of time.
And come on, the cops have laptops mounted on their dashboards. They can type while driving.
This isn't school.
Yeah, I agree. Anyways, God bless the U.S. Department of Transportation for having at least a semblance of sensibility. We'll see how far that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have some more rumors, Rene, and this one's a little bit of a birthday present for everyone. So perhaps could the iPad 3 be coming on to commemorate Steve Jobs' birthday?
This is one
of
those.
I like this one just because I'm just excited for new tech. Sooner is always better for new
if
tech.
his birthday was in November, he wouldn't be so excited. But the fact that his birthday is in February, it's a good. Yeah, this is from Focus Taiwan, and I don't actually know what their record on rumors is, but Jeremy seemed to think this was not a far off guess, and Jeremy is usually a good barometer of not always what Apple's going to do, but what maybe Apple is planning to do. So. I mean, it's quite possible. We were thinking previously that, maybe Apple would, since the iPhone seems like it's moving to a fall release schedule, maybe Apple would put the iPad in the WWDC June slot, because a lot of people get upset when it's around the holidays time and they want to buy an iPad, but they know that there's a new iPad coming in the spring. There's just not a lengthy enough period. The obsolescence is too close. That putting the iPad in June would fix that problem for Apple and give them another big summer hero release. But I wouldn't mind having it sooner.
Seth?
Oh yeah, I would certainly like to have it sooner, but in regard to it being released on his birthday, we all know Apple is not a company that favors nostalgia. They look toward the future, they move on. So if it happened to fall on the same day, I doubt that any mention would be made of it. I think it would be purely coincidental, and maybe internally they'd kind of give each other a nod and a...
They would be going like this, Seth?
I don't know if I agree that Apple is not nostalgic. Their commercial for the iPad was very similar to their old commercial for the Newton. I don't know. They have a little bit of nostalgia with them, don't they?
They bleed in 6 colors, Georgia.
Like, I don't think that they would do it unless it also fits with being able to be mass-produced, being able to be run, and that they're ready for the product. But if they could do something like that in memory of, Steve, I think that they would. I don't think.
So you're saying that maybe Tim Cook
that.
would do it where Steve Jobs wouldn't have done it, which makes it even more ironic, because it is a new regime.
Yes, and it would be something I think really nice. I think it would be a nice push and a news story that would give them some wonderful press.
Of course, it's going to be the thing with the iPad 3. I think it's always going to be what it always was: is whether or not they can make Retina displays at that size for cheap enough and with high enough yield rates that they can technically launch this thing. Because they're not going to, if they have to throw away half the panels coming off the assembly line, there's no way they're going to produce this device. Yeah. So it's just going to come down to technical matters, I think, more than emotional ones. If it's ready in January, they might wait a month, but I think they're going to be hard pressed to get it out in timely fashion.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see it in February because then I can take it on vacation in March.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And okay, so do you think that there'll be a redesign for the iPad, which does not have the same product line that they had? So the iPad 1 and the iPad 2 look completely different.
It's going to have a rubber bumper and an aluminum back. What are you talking about?
It's going to be glass on the front and on the back.
Yeah. It's going to have a chili cheese dispenser on the port. I don't know. The rumor was that it was going to be thicker to accommodate the LED needed to light up such a high resolution display, but I don't know. There's only been 2 iPads, so there's less of a pattern to predict future behavior off of, which makes it interesting. I mean, they could keep the same shell, do an iPhone gambit or an iPod Touch 2, where they keep the same design for a couple of years. That wouldn't surprise me. I don't see anything that glaringly needs a redesign necessarily.
Yeah, I don't think that they do. I think it's going to be really hard for. We'll have to see what all the other companies are doing. But again, Apple kind of in that way goes to its own drum. If a redesign makes better sense because of the casing, what they need to put inside of it, that's what they're going to have to do. So I think especially with, the iPad already being so thin, I don't know how much, more they can add into it with keeping it at this thinness. Would you care if it was any thicker, Seth? Would that actually bother you?
No, not really. Just because I'm not really an iPad user that is like walking around and carrying it,
In your
outstretched. Yeah, no. I mean, I'm usually using it either seated or at a desk or something like that. So I don't care if it's a little bit heavier. I've been playing with a bunch of stuff since my iPad's, locked away in the office for testing, and I have the touchpad here, and it weighs a ton. So if it was anywhere less than this, I'd be great. It's fine.
Less than a ton. That's a good bar to set.
Yeah, keep the battery life up. If you need to make it a little bit thicker to light that display, I'm fine.
Or
Go
fit
for
an
it.
LTE radio in, maybe.
Oh, forget that. Come
Let's
on.
start all the rumors. Come on. How about a better camera?
I will not be party to this.
We have not yet begun Paruma.
So let's go into it. Apple TV.
Are you talking the little box or the full television?
Yeah, I want like a full television. I want my Apple TV. 32, 37-inch Apple TV. The only thing I thought about this rumor is way too small. What's up with that?
I'm waiting for it to. This
It's way too small. 37-inch?
There's been a bunch of rumors from the randomly accurate site known as Digitimes, which, again, I'm going to preface this by saying that you could flip a coin and pretty much mirror their accuracy rate, so take it with a giant grain of salt. The thing with Digitimes is that they report based on what manufacturers in China are doing, and while these places will leak, if someone orders a bunch of panels, sure, it might be Apple, but it might be Samsung doing yet another, infinitesimal increment on a screen size. So it could be any one of a bunch of people who are making these displays. So you never know if it's really Apple or not. But 32 and 37 does sound small. I would think Apple would go big or go home with this.
Right, like
I would think
Yeah.
nothing less than 40. Nothing less than 40.
yes, I agree. I absolutely agree. And since they already make screen sizes that are larger, I'd be looking at my Apple TV on this small screen, whereas I'd be looking at my computer screen and it would be huge. I couldn't even do it.
They go to 27-inch for the iMac, and the 32 is not that much bigger. It's like, the TV is really not going to be that much bigger than an iMac.
Well, I don't think that it would be. Master in the chat room says about an Apple TV projector. I don't think that that's going to happen. But, my TV on my wall is, I think it's 56. But anyways, I'd be like, if they're not going to make something that is large and able to compete with my regular television set, even if it is completely amazingly useful, I'm not going to use it.
What
I'm
if
not
it's
going to want
seamless?
to buy it. No, 32-inch, no.
Yeah, I think they have to. They're going to have to hit their target market pretty well. I mean, they didn't make a small iPad; they went for a 10-inch iPad. I don't think they'll make a small TV. That is if they make a TV. I mean, I'm still not convinced they're actually going to make a TV this year.
Yeah, they might have just thrown that. Steve Jobs might have thrown that out there just to get everyone else in a tizzy about making television sets.
Well, I mean, they said they've been working on. And we've gone over this before. They were working on a television before they were working on the iPad, and they were working on the iPad before they were working on the iPhone. And Apple takes their time. They will release it when it's ready to be released. And that I don't know if that's this year.
Yeah, Sock was saying that 32 or 37 is too small to replace their 60-inch Sony.
Yeah.
I again, for television, in comparison to when I watch on, say, the projector, I actually like to see things in the larger screen. Some things thinner is better, and some things larger is better.
Would Apple go with one screen size the way they did with iPhone and iPad? Would it be like, this is the Apple television. It is 42 or 47 inches or even 55 inches, and that's it. That's all.
I don't know. I kind of feel like it's more like laptops. Like there's got to be a little bit of a range. Because I mean laptop. All right, so I would think there has to be a little bit more of a range for this reason alone. There's a range in laptops 13, 15, 17, and 11 if you count the Air. And that's basically a device that is roughly the same distance from a person depending on their arm length as they're using it, right? Give or take. TVs, there are certain ratios for, optimal viewing of televisions.
Yep.
And if you have a giant long room and you want your TV at one side of it, that's obviously not going to work. And if you have a shorter, wider room that you're going to sit, closer to the TV, like there can't be
It's
one
a Saturday
size.
Night Live skit in waiting if they do anything other than that. It really is, because you'll have like Will Ferrell sitting at one end of a room and a tiny television, and you'll have to get up and go and look and go back to. I mean, they can't do that.
Yeah, and then he'll be like, "It's beautiful, it's perfect, it's everything I've ever wanted in a television."
Yeah, except it's tiny.
I don't think that it minds if it's one size as long as that size is large.
Now,
Yeah, but still, that doesn't work for people with small rooms and small houses. Like they just couldn't buy a large TV. Like we have long rooms, but the way they're set
Right.
up, like the biggest TV I wanted was a 47-inch, and it looks huge in the room that it's in just because of where it's positioned and where we sit.
I agree. I understand the point, and it makes a lot of sense, even with the different sizes that they make for laptops. But Apple doesn't really care about pleasing all people. It's not the manner in which they do things.
rarely
Just like
care about
a
pleasing
lot of
anybody.
People can't afford to get a Mac, and that they're just fine with that. So if it would save them a lot of money and they could mass produce a TV that maybe would not be, 70-inch or something that would be like massively large, but something that would fit the schema of most people and most rooms, that might be good enough for them if it would save them a lot of money and they could mass produce it.
Now, our fellow West Island Montrealer, Guy English, put up a post that got quite a bit of attention, where he theorized that what Apple might do is make a display with one cable, just the power cable. You buy a beautiful, pristine Apple display, maybe in a couple sizes, mount that on your wall, and then that uses some form of Wi-Fi Direct, maybe the same protocol as AirPlay, to beam content to your tiny little Apple TV box. And they could upgrade the Apple TV box every year, but you only had to buy the panel when you were ready to buy it. And then everything else would plug into the small box. So all your existing legacy cable, satellite, Xbox, PlayStation, whatever,
Surround
Roku
sound.
box, yeah, that would all go into the ugly little box that you could hide in the corner. And all you would see on the wall is that Jonathan Ives aluminum and glass Star Trek viewfinder of a futuristic display.
I like this one. I remember reading this. It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense going forward. If they want to keep turning products over, no one's going to buy a new TV every year. I mean, no matter how crazy you are about Apple products, you're just not going to do it.
No, it'd be way too much money.
Yeah, I'm not lining up Georgia says I'm lining up every year to buy a new Apple television, but that would be hard.
You
man.
would, but that you're not the mainstream person, and this you do for a living. So there's a big difference.
Yeah, like
But I think that makes great sense.
it's an interesting stopgap, and then if that box has major upgrades, it's easier than upgrading your entire TV. And I actually wish I could do that now, because my existing stuff doesn't have the latest version of HDMI. I don't think it has, like, my PlayStation is older, doesn't give off all the same ports that the newer ones do. So I think that's an interesting theory. An interesting hypothesis. I'm being corrected in the chat room. He didn't theorize it the way that Einstein theorized relativity. He hypothesized it the way Einstein hypothesized how a popcorn machine could work. Sorry.
Okay, well, let's hypothesize that Steve Jobs may receive a special Grammy Award for revolutionizing the music industry.
We don't have to. He is. It's been
There we
proven.
go. It's a fact.
Yeah, so it's posthumous, unfortunately.
Yeah, isn't
Yeah.
it funny that he's receiving an award from the same industry that basically wanted to put a hit out on him about 10 years ago?
Made his life so very difficult.
10 years ago, I mean, they've been trying to do that every year. I think they're still unhappy that iTunes saved their miserable, myopic, dinosaur-like carcasses from the extinction they so richly deserved.
Idiots.
So he's going to receive a posthumous honorary special merit Grammy Award for contributions to the music industry, namely iTunes, which is so big they can no longer ignore it. Good on you, Steve.
There we
Shame
go.
on the music industry. Good on you, Steve.
Other things that are good. iOS 5.01. Yes, Untethered Jailbreak is now available for the iPad, iPhone 4, and older models. So go ahead. I'll just wait. I'll just take it.
Yeah, some people were calling this an Apple A4 jailbreak, but actually it's for any device. The latest devices have an Apple A5 chipset, which is the iPad 2 and the iPhone 4S, and that cannot be jailbroken yet. But anything older than that, anything running on the A4 chipset, anything running on the previous generation of chipsets like the 3GS, yes, Georgia's iPhone 4, the one that she still hasn't upgraded to iOS 5 because she's been waiting for the Untethered jailbreak.
And I took such flack for it.
Yeah. A4 and under
People
jailbreak,
really
yes,
do
Jamil.
care.
Yeah, you get a lot of flack for not updating apps, for not buying new phones, for not you basically are told to do what the chat room tells you, and if you do anything otherwise, you are castigated.
It's just really interesting that, people really, it does matter to people if I'm not, using the latest and or greatest.
Yet Seth and I can get away with murder. We can. Seth cannot have an iPad 2.
Seth doesn't even have to buy it.
I cannot jailbreak.
Buy it.
Yeah.
I'm
fine.
not. Yeah.
Nobody cares.
I saw so many vague, misleading headlines around this jailbreak this week that made it seem like the 4S was jailbroken, just, I guess, to get the page views. But it's funny with iOS 5 and with the 4S. I know we've talked about this, Rene. As much as I love tinkering, I don't miss my jailbreak the way I did with older versions of iOS.
Well, that's the experiment we're going to run with Georgia. We're going to have her upgrade to iOS 5.0.1, and we're going to have her jailbreak. She can jailbreak as much as she wants, but we're going to see how long she can go without installing anything from Cydia. She doesn't have to jailbreak right away if she doesn't want to, but I'm worried that Apple will put out an update or stop verifying the keys or whatever. So I mean, she can jailbreak now if she wants to, but I want to see how long she can go, because we actually didn't talk about that. We'll talk about that later. But Georgia's main uses for a lot of the jailbreak stuff might be covered by OS 5. I'm interested to find out.
George, are you down for this experiment?
It makes me feel mildly uncomfortable, but
you'll have Cydia there. You can in a couple taps you can install anything that you're missing.
I
know.
It's sending tech on letting go.
It's gonna be it's gonna be like a Seinfeld episode where Georgia is not gonna be master of her jailbreak domain. A couple hours later, she'll come in and have to throw $20 on the table.
My phone, I'm not gonna be able to email some. I'm gonna have to actually type in my code, and I'm gonna be like, oh man, really?
Yeah.
But either way, I'm going to be taking a look at our daily tip on how to untether jailbreak, so that if I ever do it, perhaps.
And this is from Pod2G came up with the Untether exploit. He gave it to both the iPhone dev team and the Chronic dev team, and they've updated Red Snow and what's the other one called? Corona. And we also put up the donate link because Pod2G did an awesome job. And if you'd like to reward such excellence in hackery, please do donate. It's what keeps them doing the great stuff that they do. And he has passed on some other stuff he's figured out to the dev team and the Chronic dev team, and he is going to concentrate on iPhone 4S and iPod 2 jailbreakery.
Yes, and our Master Ninja has shown us the way, so you can take a look at the daily tip if that's what you're looking to do.
Yep, she will walk you through jailbreaking. And if you have any questions, we have our jailbreak forum, a lot of knowledgeable people. They can help you out. And Allie's also got a bunch of the common errors listed and what you can do to fix them. So tippy.com/jailbreak, everything is there right for your assorted needs.
And she also wrote the top 5 things that Tippy wants from your jailbreak in 2012. Woo! Seth, any wants?
You know what? I haven't even been thinking about it lately.
Dark side. Nothing really.
Yeah, what would it take to get you to jailbreak again, Seth? Cappuccino machine? I mean, what?
Honestly, I'd have to give this some serious thought. It would have to. I guess it would have to be some serious, low-level integration with Siri that is not there now. Something that makes it so ridiculously, stupidly easy to use my phone without touching anything.
So if they let you tweet right from Siri, you jailbreak in a second.
Not just that.
If you could use Siri to turn on your phone and take a photo just by talking to it.
SB settings via Siri.
I mean, aren't these all things that are in development? I've seen things like this coming around.
But if you could do it now instead of waiting, if it would launch any app, take a photo, and then email it all in one shot.
I don't know. Maybe it has to do my laundry.
I was about to say, does it have to do your freaking laundry?
Yeah, the laundry. It kills me.
The Windows?
It vexes me.
You see, launching app, again, that would be... I'm probably gonna jailbreak, but
Well,
so
I mean, you
they
could
already
with
had
URL
they had
schemes, but
the
Apple took
hello.
them away. Apple took all your URL schemes away. No more. What Ali wants, let's go through the list quickly. Last year, she did the top 5 things that she wanted Apple to steal from the jailbreak community, and Apple did that. So she decided not to make another list again. She decided that the Sherlocking of the jailbreak community was bad enough once, but so she figured Apple's going to do that again, so why give them a list? But she wants a jailbreak for A5 processor powered devices, the iPhone 4S and iPad 2. She wants Cydia to be updated. She thinks that, Sarek did a great job with Cydia, but he hasn't really given it a big update in a while, and it's still slow, and it's still not as convenient as it could be, so she'd like a Cydia update. She wants more iPad-specific apps and tweaks. She thinks the iPhone gets far more love than the iPad, and that is definitely true. She wants more. She wants the apps to have better support from the developers because she feels that once an app is released and Apple updates the OS, a lot of the apps are just basically abandoned and no one ever updates them. So she'd like the developers to kind of stick with it, or if they don't, another developer to pick it up and make a newer product that does the same thing. And she wants a more unified jailbreaking process. She thinks it's still not really friendly enough for casual users. And maybe one could argue that casual users shouldn't jailbreak, but she thinks it's refined enough now. The process is easy enough. The restore to get out of it is easy enough that it deserves sort of a more consumer-friendly packaging.
Yeah, and I think that they might want to make sure that they can get applications, or at least I'd like a process to see the most stable applications in comparison to applications that will constantly cause things to crash.
Yeah.
Just saying. That would be nice.
Do it.
And okay, my favorite thing, I watched Ali's weekly mod on how to replace the rear camera in the iPhone 4. I love her mods. I think that they're amazing. And I watched them, though. I think that this might be, well, actually, after watching the mod, I think that I would feel comfortable in replacing my camera. She walks through it so simply and easily. You learn a lot about your phone, the manner in which it is put together. And I think that I probably could, if I had to replace my camera, do it after watching this mod.
This is what Ali does for a living, though. I mean,
awesome.
she does this day in, day out at Pixel Flicks, which Seth is not a Superman villain. I made that mistake, and she smacked me. It's actually the name of her iPhone and iPad repair business.
Yep.
And some people were asking if you could actually replace it with a better quality camera, like if you can get if you can source a manufactured iPhone 4S camera, could you shove it into your iPhone 4? And sadly, no. But if your camera has stopped working and you're out of warranty and you don't want to pay Apple a lot of money to do it, and you're not Tim the Toolman Taylor, you're fairly adept with screwdrivers and such.
I would never try this because I know I would get like a single dust particle on the camera, and then I would close it all up, and every picture I took would have dust on it.
But this would be already
crazy.
if you think that even if your camera was broken, that you wouldn't be able to keep it dust free and to give it to someone that would be the professionals like Ali to have it done.
Oh no, I'm sure Ali will do a great job. I'm saying I would never try this myself.
Can't you just put on your bunny suit and get it done, man?
How did you know he has a bunny suit?
Any self-respecting geek has their Intel certified Paul Ottolini bunny suit at the ready.
Yeah, mine is pink. It has bunny feet.
Get out of that.
We knew that already.
See, now I'm going to reveal my love of Cerebus and just say, get out of that bunny suit, son.
Put the bunny back in the box. We also went through everything 2011, our most used applications. And Rene, you were saying that yours and Seth are quite similar.
I knew this going in. I knew that whatever form of Jedi, science, sorcery, scanners thing Seth Clifford uses to hack into my brain would result in us having almost identical lists. And we have 3 out of 5 of apps absolutely identical, and one of the apps he chose is not available in Canada, so it's debatable as to whether or not we would have gone for the 4-Pete.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think anything in common with Georgia. Revelatory. So I'll do mine really quickly. Mine, it used to be Twitter for iPhone, but alas, that became Dick App, so now I am using Tweetbot. Don't laugh at Dick App. They actually made it into a Dick App. So
love it.
Twitter for iPhone went from an app that nerds like us would use to an app specifically designed for beginner Twitter users who just want to follow Britney Spears. And that's fine, but that's not my use case. So now I'm using Tweetbot. Netflix, because I watch tons and tons of stuff and I severed the cable cord. Instacast, because I don't have time to listen to a lot of podcasts now. The more podcasts I make, the less I have time to listen to. But in order to check all the Mobile Nations feeds and make sure things are downloading and showing up properly, I use Instacast. Twitter has taken over a lot of my RSS needs, but I still use Reader to kind of power my way through all the assorted news of the day. And 1Password, because I would be absolutely positively lost without that application. That's mine.
Well, I'll go through really quickly. Mine are pretty much well known if you've listened to any of the shows, but it's LockInfo, InfiniDoc. I still use the old Twitter because I don't upgrade, so I'm all good.
Did you actually upgrade, or you're still using the
No,
old
I'm
version
still
of Twitter?
using the old one.
No,
I don't. Of course, I didn't upgrade.
Nice.
And someone already commented that there's like 75 applications right now that are.
Oh,
on
I
my
see that in the picture. 75
Yeah.
unupdated applications out of what? 75?
No, there's a few that have just people like they're Apple.
A couple
apps or
games with new
something. I
levels
don't
have been updated, but besides that,
You seriously have 75. You have a badge that says 75.
look
on
at the
your App Store
picture.
app.
It's in the show notes.
Yeah, I'll
I'm
show
not-
you.
I'm
I'll
not-
show you
no,
the. I'll show you
No,
the
I'm not,
photo.
I'm not looking at the picture. That's disgusting.
If I can put this into the chat, but let's see if we can do that.
It says 75, along with 2 missed phone calls and 7 emails. I have like
Oh.
385 unread emails though, so I can't comment on Georgia.
All right,
Yeah.
Georgia, click this.
Yeah, there we go. That's not too
come
bad.
on. It's sitting in your dock, so you have to stare at it all the time?
That doesn't bother me at all.
Man. Oh, man.
Yeah, the chat room sums it up. Wow. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. And that would drive Seth
So my
insane. That's
Twitter's
like
just
splinters in
fine.
Seth's
I'm
eyes.
keeping it. It's all
Seriously.
good. It's all good.
It makes me crazy.
Netflix. I'm playing a game from PopCap, which is called Chuzzle. Also tomorrow, actually, I'm gonna change what I'm gonna do on Girls Gone Gadgets, and I'm gonna be talking about. I finished Dire Grove, so I'm gonna talk about that instead.
Nice.
Yeah, that's about it. Makes my eyes bleed. Ouch. So sorry, Pax. So sorry.
What about you, Seth? Or did I already cover the spectrum?
No,
What's different from Rene?
we had Tweetbot and 1Password and Instacast in common. Tweetbot is just great, period. Instacast is, as I said in my little write-up, it's the the lone survivor of the great podcast catcher war of 2011. I've tried so many different ones, and that's the one that just works the best for me. 1Password, I couldn't live without it. It's I honestly, I must have sold a million copies of that app just by telling people how wonderful it is, and I try to gift it as much as possible because
same here.
it's so good. It'll change your life. My two that were not the same were the Kindle app, because I really love the simple interface, and my wife and I share a library, so we can sync stuff back and forth. And she has a Kindle, and there's a Kindle app on almost every single platform. I prefer it to iBooks. I like the library better. There's more availability. I like Amazon's system. And then the other one was Pandora, which you said you don't have in Canada. Pandora, obviously a very old app in App Store terms, but I've tried so many millions of streaming music apps and all the new ones and Spotify and all that stuff. I just keep coming back to Pandora because usually when I want to listen to music, I don't want to have to think about it. And so I open it up. If I had it open recently, it'll start playing whatever station was playing before, which is usually fine. Or I just hit one thing and I don't think about it, and it just does the work for me, and I hear nice music.
A couple of observations. One is that even though we didn't pick the same apps for the other two, we both did pick a streaming media app and a reading app for the other two. So it's still get out of my lawn.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And what's interesting is Jerry just said in the chat room that he thinks that Pocket Cast is better than Instacast, and we get a lot of pushback whenever we mention a podcast app. We get like Downcast is better than Instacast, or this is.
Yep.
It is a highly contentious field for some reason. People are deeply vested in their podcatchers, and that's fine. Like, for me, I just found that Instacast does most of what I need the quickest, so that's why I stuck with it.
That's exactly
And
it.
you don't have a lot of time, so
Yeah.
speed
I've
works.
tried all of those apps, all the ones that people say. I've tried them all, and Instacast is the one that is the least steps for me to get from opening the app to listening to a podcast.
Yeah. I agree, and it just does what I need to do. It's not perfect. I have a lot of problems with the UI. The touch targets are sometimes very bizarre, and it doesn't always do the least friction UI thing that I'd like. But it's the best I've found so far.
Yep.
And 1Password I agree with. That's just awesome software.
Well, moving along, Leanna wrote up on using Siri dictation on your Mac with Air Dictate for the iPhone 4S.
She did.
Rene, yeah,
I
and
haven't tried this yet. I was so busy we're doing a ton and ton of content for the New Year's here on Tippy. We're going to have our Reader's Choice Awards on Saturday, on Friday, and our Editor's Choice Awards on Saturday. So I didn't have a chance to try this, but I really, really wanted to. So I don't have much to say about it, but I think anything that extends Siri to my Mac is got to be good.
and Seth, have you tested this out?
No, I haven't, but I actually did something similar to this inadvertently a couple weeks ago. I was using the Boxy app on the Mac, and I had a friend of mine over and we were watching stuff and searching YouTube videos, and I was controlling the Mac with either the Boxy app or touchpad, the Adobe app touchpad, and I just hit the microphone thing and I'm like, hey, let's see if this works. And I talked and it actually threw the text up on the TV. So
Yeah, Adobe is awesome.
yeah, it was pretty cool. It worked like real fast. And so that activity, I have engaged in that activity. It's very cool.
You did inhale.
I did. And I
This
haven't
he
used
is interested in.
Yeah, I haven't used Air Dictate yet, but it's cool. I love
Renee,
that app.
do you have the next one queued?
No. Was I supposed to? I'm sorry. Renee
Yeah,
failed.
well, it's just Action Movie FX, which will bring Hollywood-style special effects to your home videos.
Yeah, I'll put this in post because it's actually fairly awesome.
Yeah, really, really awesome. I'm really excited about
It takes
that.
it like you take your video and it just adds what they call big budget FX. Like the one you're seeing on Twitter a lot now is people making their cars explode with missiles. You know, like a missile comes out of nowhere and blows up your car.
That's just too very cool. So I'm going to be playing around with this.
Yeah, no, this is, and you know what? Unlike iMame, it is still in the App Store, so you can go get it.
Yeah, fast automated video tracking, music, sound, FX, lens flares, car smashes, sound design by Skywalker Sound. Anyways, you can post it to Facebook, you can email it to your friends. Sounds like a lot of fun, and you could probably do a whole bunch of really cool
What
things.
would you make blow up, Georgia? What's going to be your first victim in this app?
Oh, I already have an idea.
Your husband?
So
Is it gonna be your husband?
I'm not gonna say it,
All
but
right.
who knows if we ever do a So You Think You Can podcast, maybe people will use this for making their videos.
Seth, what are you going to blow up?
Seth made the Death Star blow up last time, so
I
what
did,
would you
yeah.
do, Seth? How can you go bigger than that?
I would blow up Nickelback. I would put them in a car and blow the car up with Nickelback inside, and that would be what I would do.
You'd blow up Nickelback and you scrape up the pieces, put them in a car, blow up the car. Scrape up those pieces, put them in a house, blow up the house.
Yeah, I would make sure they were gone.
Well, the wonderful thing, if you listen to last week's show, is that Seth broke that iMame, the arcade emulator, to go pick it up. It's in the App Store. And as soon as it is there, and now it is no longer there.
So wait,
Seth,
so hold on a
did
second. No, wait. iMame hit the App Store. Seth talked about it on the podcast, and then Apple pulled it. Way to go, Seth.
No,
Way to
it was
go.
it was there for a couple of days. It was there longer than anybody expected. What really
They
bugged me
downloaded the
was that,
podcast. You see, they didn't watch it live.
yeah, what bugged me was that it was my pick last week, and I wrote the pick up a couple days early because I knew I'd be busy, and
You're
sent
always
it to
early.
Leanna, and it was
And then by the time,
it was sitting in Leanna's little queue, and then like that morning that she was going to publish it, she's like, "Oh, it just got pulled," and I had to write another one.
Did
So
the
this
one
is
you replaced it with
exactly-
get pulled? I just want to see if there's a pattern here.
No,
Okay.
I picked Launch Center.
Oh, which did actually Launch Center did get pulled. They made it take out all the good the functionality before they would release it into the App Store. So you're 2 for 2 there, Seth.
Shut up.
Sorry, Georgia, you're about to blame Seth for something.
no. I was saying, well, if you watch the show live, then, you might just not have to worry about, watching the show after and it gets pulled by the time that you get there.
Why do we think Apple pulled it? Because, arguably there are video apps that let you stream videos that you might not have gotten legitimately. I'm not going to name them because I don't want Apple to identify them. But why can't there be a simple MAME emulator in the App Store that lets you play ROMs that you carefully handcrafted at home? Home ROMs.
Could it be just that Apple does not want to get sued or have to go into any sort of legal wrangling?
With whom? Like what? Like Atari's going
I
to
don't
sue Apple?
know.
No, Atari can sue Seth. They don't need to sue Apple.
Well, if Atari's selling apps and you can get them instead through iMame, then perhaps that would be a cause for them to be upset.
What if
Apple,
I'm baking
much
up
rather you
ROMs
buy.
over here?
yeah, Seth could be cooking up his own. He could be making Seth Man or Sethy Kong or Sethipede.
Seth.
Yeah, I mean, he could be doing all sorts of stuff there. We don't know what's going on in his Jersey lab. It could be
I'm not
anything.
baking up ROMs.
No, but Apple does have a rule against emulators, and you know, like the Commodore 64 one got in there, so there's obviously some sort of gray area. I just wish
You
that
have
they
to just grab them when they're hot.
Yeah.
That it actually went through the first set, though, and they allowed it in the first place is something that's strange to me because, like, iMame is pretty much, it says right away
it's
what
in
it
the
does.
name.
So it's not like they named it, you know, cloudy. happy
Photopedia.
descriptors. So
Yeah.
that's the one part. I don't know if someone got in trouble afterwards for having to let it in. And then they have to pull it, which causes everyone to be like, oh.
Yeah.
What
For the
happened?
record, there's pretty good. I'm pretty sure they're pretty good. I haven't tried them yet, but Jeff from 148 Apps told me that there's good jailbreak stuff for MAME. He recommended it to me one day on Twitter. So if you missed iMame and you are jailbroken or you're thinking about it, check into that.
Especially if you have your arcade.
We have to tear Georgia away from playing Super Mario every week just to do this damn podcast.
Yeah, if you've got an arcade, definitely check into it.
Georgia, do you have any accessories this week to show off?
I
Perhaps?
I have a lot of accessories that we're going through, but I'm going to bring up some of the new ones that I'm taking a look at.
You did a review for us. Can I tout your review for a second?
Sure.
You did. Actually, you did a poll for us first. You asked people what kind of case they prefer for their iPhone, and I found this actually interesting because I test out tons of cases, but I usually just don't have a case on normally. My iPhone is, as you put it, naked. But we had 18% or close to 19% say none. They go naked or they go home. For about 5% use a protective film like a Bodyguards or Invisible Shield or something. 25% use a slim skin form-fit case. About 4.25% use a leather luxury style hipster case. 3% use a pouch or a holster. So obviously iPhone is very different aesthetic than BlackBerry. 27% use a hard or protective, kind of an OtterBox style case. 13% use a bumper, whether it's an Apple bumper or something like an Element case or a Draco case. And 4% use other, which I'm guessing is like a sack of holding or some.
Yeah, the main breakdown really comes into none. You like the feel of the phone itself and will risk having it scratched or dealing with protective. Or slim fit, which is where I would fall in. I would rather have something slim than something protective. Again,
yeah, you've been
I'm
crying out about the glass back since the beginning.
More shallow than bright, I guess. Or hard and protective. That's really the way that it comes down to would be the three main things.
Yeah.
I always lean more towards something that's slim, so I will have either nothing on it. Sometimes I do put a film onto the front of my case, or nothing. So that's pretty much where I
did a
fall.
review of the Casemate Barely There, the new brush, because you were a huge fan of the Chrome Casemate of the last generation. Actually, you had one for the 3GS and the 4, and now you've gone. Both. You went from Chrome to brushed aluminum.
Yes, and this one's really nice. I have this case on, and the only issue, it is aluminum on the backing. It's not aluminum on the sides.
Could you hold it a little higher up?
Yeah, sure, sorry. It's really a very nice looking case. It comes in many colors. If you're not into pink, you don't really have to worry about that. It's nice. It does not take up much space. I like the fact that the edge does come a little bit over the bezel, so you can place your phone on a flat surface and not have to worry about it scratching. And it is kept remarkably well. I've kept it on. One is because it's so hard to take off. That's the only issue that I have. And it's you see it in the backing. That's the other problem with some cases, especially with my Draco bumper case, which was beautiful and I really loved as well. It was I couldn't use my car charger. I could,
some of those car chargers are hefty, chunky SOBs.
So this case, it's a really nice case, and we're doing a giveaway. So if you have not already entered, please do enter down and take a look at that.
If you're Brett the Hitman Hart, you'll like the pink on black, man.
And you have it come in many different colors, so you don't have to worry about that.
What else you got for us?
Okay, so also, it is cold here. Canada, freezing, very cold. And so Mujo sent some gloves that are touch sensitive. You can actually use your phone with them. Now, these I've been using them for the past week, and they're warm, which is nice for one of the gloves. They come in small, medium, and or large, and I can actually text still wearing the gloves.
They give you the capacity to use your iPhone even in gloves?
Yes,
Oh,
they're
that's adorable.
very cute. They don't have, some gloves have all of the fingers are capacitive. So you can also, some gloves only have one finger that you're allowed, that you're able to use that's capacitive because they've stitched in the, I don't know if it's metal or what type of filing. I believe that it's metal into the gloves. And these ones you can use all fingers, so you can still pinch to zoom in and everything else. The only thing is that one is that they're slightly, I have very tiny, tiny little hands. So if you have really small hands, the small medium is a little bit large, but not much. And the second thing is that I have to touch slightly more with a little bit more pressure, but not much. So I can pretty much use my phone while I'm outside and don't have to take my gloves off.
Nice. I need a pair, like, now.
Yeah, they're nice. And they might even be so sweet to later do a giveaway. So check out.
All right,
Maybe.
more to come.
Saying, perhaps. Well, last thing. This one I'm really stoked about. And there's a whole bunch of jokes going on in the chat room, but I'll leave them. And this is the spider arm, and this is for my iPad. So I'm going to move a little bit back so we can show it. I just got this today, so I haven't had it set up, but I will be right after the show. And
Whoa.
wait a second.
My
Here we
God.
go. There we go. I think that's in screen. So this is a spider arm, and what it's so amazing is just as if you were, using a different movement light, this will fully spin around, so you can put your iPad anywhere at any angle, up, down, upside down. Turn it around. It has all different types of clamps, so you don't have to worry about that. It has a Versa mount, it has surface mount, it has a C clamp, and it has a 360 radial adjustment because it has a ball joint. So you can move it around any so which way that you would like.
My God, it looks like something out of Cyberdyne.
That is phenomenal.
I'm so excited about.
Nice.
I would totally mount that to my bed frame and never, ever hold that thing up in bed again.
Exactly. For those of you that are, that have swimsuit girl bodies and cannot hold your iPad because it's too heavy, you don't have to anymore.
Oh, I know we're late, but I totally forgot. I told Seth we'd talk about this. So I have a quick Kindle story, and then I know Seth has a Kindle story too. So mine is this. I got a phone call from an older gentleman, a family friend, and he said, Rene, I was given one of these Kindle devices, not a Kindle Fire, just a regular Kindle for Christmas, and it doesn't seem to do that much. And I'm like, no, it's an ebook reader. He's like, what? I have an iPad already. Do I need this? And I'm like, well, if you want a dedicated ebook reader, like a unitasker, yes, if you just want to read books. But with my iPad, I can do FaceTime with my relatives across the country, and I can see my grandchildren. Can I do that with the Kindle? No, it's an ebook reader. I'm regifting it. So yeah, make sure you know your target before you buy your tablet. Yeah,
my story is a little shorter. I had Indian food, and my father-in-law came over last night, and we drank some good scotch, and today I have a Kindle Fire.
Wow.
You drunk and purchased?
No, truthfully, I bought it before dinner, but since the iPad is, being used in the office, I've been playing with everything under the sun, and, I was talking about the touchpad earlier and whatever. And I don't know, I just was kind of like, my first impression was, I hate this. I want to kick it as hard as I can, as far as I can. But I played with one in the store the other day, and I was like, it's not terrible. And I figured the only way I'd really know for sure is if I got one. So I did. Amazon shipped like on a lightning bolt, and I got it in less than 24 hours. And second impression is it's not bad. I mean, it's not great, but it's not bad. I've been doing a lot more reading, and I kind of wanted something that was a little bit smaller than, the 10-inch stuff I've been playing with. And it's good. I mean, the software update hit a couple minutes after I turned it on today, and it's actually been really snappy. Like all of the weird little glitchy, touchy, the buttons aren't responsive when you tap things, like all of that is gone now. There's a little bit of stutter on like fast scrolling, but by and large, it's better than I expected it to be. Now, I feel that I will probably need to write something about it, so there'll be some overall summation at some point, but that's my little dirty secret that I said I would share.
Will we talk about the UI on Iterate?
Yeah, we definitely can.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Now, Seth, because you have access to an iPad, do you find that if this was your only tablet device that you would be happy with it?
Yeah, I think it depends. I think that when I get the new iPad, when it comes out in whenever, 2012, I think I'm going to probably use that. I'm going to try to not bring my laptop places. You know, I'm going to try to make that the travel computer when I can. And I think this is really just going to be more for reading, listening to music, watching movies. Like there's stuff you can do on it, but I don't think I don't think I'd be happy if this was my only tablet device. I could see how some people with a very limited want and need set, let's call it, would be fine with it because it does quite a bit. And the Amazon integrations for media and books and stuff like that, it's actually pretty tight. So if that's kind of what you want it for, that's what it's going to be good for. I had to, I couldn't find all the apps I wanted. Thank goodness 1Password for Kindle Fire was approved recently, like yesterday or the day before. So I threw that on, but I had to sideload a couple of other things like Dropbox just to get it on there because there was no Kindle Fire.
There was no Amazon
version.
Market version of the Google
exactly.
Market
So
app.
there are some limitations in terms of which apps you can put on, and it's a little bit frustrating that way. But I'm gonna get into it in detail, I'm sure, at some point.
Nice. Georgia, are we at the point yet where we should announce the winner of our iOS Dream Device giveaway contest?
I think that we are, and people have been waiting.
They've been so patient.
And this was where you get the iOS device of your dreams.
Yes, we are giving away a $600 Apple Store gift certificate. So you could buy an iPhone 4S, you could buy an iPad 2, you could wait and save it for an iPad 3, you could get a couple of iPod Touches, you could get a handful of Apple TVs. Whatever Apple device you want, this will empower and money you to get it. I can tell Seth is just drowning in excitement.
He's hoping he won.
So do you want to? What should we do? Should we go to commercial? Should we do it like American Idol? Go to commercial first.
Let's just have Seth do a drum roll.
All right, and the winner is, after 4 weeks and thousands upon tens of thousands of entries, D Love Prod. It's a kinky name, but he is our winner. Huge congratulations. Huge congratulations. And I'll stick it in there. Woot! Congratulations. And we will be doing a ton more device giveaways in the very near future.
All kinds of giveaways. That is true. And for those of you that haven't entered yet, we're going to be putting up, people have been asking for the backing of which I put onto my phone from Unusual. And 1 second.
Bless you.
We'll be putting that up on the website, and you can enter that as well.
Yeah, we have literally, go to tippy.com/contest. We are going to be, in Kevin's terms, we're going to be doing a nauseating amount of giveaways in the new year. Like a ridiculous amount of giveaways.
Yeah, you can never have too many giveaways.
No, we want you guys to get stuff. We're telling people to give you stuff, damn it. The Tippy Nation is awesome. People don't realize how huge the Tippy Nation is. It is definitely one of the biggest smartphone communities on the interwebs, and you guys deserve tons and tons of stuff.
Well, that being said, I think that we have come to the end of our time limit for the show.
Yep, we're done. You
the clock strikes 12. We don't want to turn into pumpkins. So, Seth, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
It was. And so how can everyone find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Seth Clifford. You can find me on the Tippy shows. You can find me on Iterate with Rene and Mark Edwards of Bajango. And if you'd like to see some of the apps and sites and work we do, you can visit our website, nfidm.com. We are Nickelfish.
Wonderful. And Rene, thank you so very much.
Oh, no. Thank you for having me. I'm glad you still let me keep coming on this show.
I'm glad the same thing for me. And how do we find you? How can people stalk you? You
can stalk me on Twitter at Rene Ritchie or on Google plus Rene Ritchie, or however the hell you find somebody on that weird service. You can also find me at tippy.com or at mobilenations.com, and you can find me in just a few minutes on Zen and Tech with Georgia.
That we can. And you can find me on Twitter at GeorgiaTIPB. You can also find me on the website, www.tippy.com.
And you can find her on Google Plus as Georgia Smith. Don't ask.
They weren't happy. They didn't like the Georgia Tippy. They
No,
didn't like that.
and since you are the sister of Agent Smith from The Matrix, we figured it was fitting.
Right.
Why not? Why not? Yeah, we're thinking about that.
You haven't lived till you've seen Georgia call Seth a virus.
Yes. We will also have Girls Gone Gadgets tomorrow, so check that out as well. And you can reach all of us on Twitter at Tippy. You can also email us at podcast@tippy.com, or of course on the website, and leave a comment when the show goes live. We're here every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, 2 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, and we are at www.tippy.com/live, where you can watch us live, and then you'd get iMame. You'd know.
Yeah.
Seth said, broke it there. For all our podcasts, audio and video, including iPhone Live, iPad Live, Zen and Tech, Super Functional, Iterate, Girls Gone Gadgets, and much more, see mobilenations.com/shows. And there's new shows popping up all the time, so check them out. If you haven't
and can
already.
I just say that we are probably going to have a huge surprise for next week's show. I'm not going to tease it too much, but there will definitely be some major stuff on next week's show. Put that in your cyber pipe and smoke it.
Yeah, you really do have to. If you ever do come to the site, please, next week should be big.
Yeah.
I would like to say thank you to everyone that comes in live, and also to the iPhone Accessory store for sponsoring the podcast. I have to say that the live chat makes everything so much fun, and it means a lot to us. So if you have ever come in live, please do say hello, even if you are new. And we have probably one of the best chat rooms that there is out there.
Yep. We hate on iOS 100% less than any of the other chat rooms. That's a fact.
That's science.
Yeah.